Jam on toast!
Hey everybody, welcome to the Jam. I'm Cameron. Today the toast is to the losers. This is a response to hashtag We Are Movie Club. We're in week 8. This was Liam's pick. I gotta say, this was a delightful surprise, especially given the premise of how he went about picking his movies. I wouldn't imagine this is anyone's tops, but kudos. I really enjoyed this movie. So thanks, Liam. So the short sale on this one is that a Wetworks team narrowly avoids being assassinated after an operation and then goes after the man who's behind both ops. I love it for this one. Honorable mention to the Dead Man Switch dive. That was such a great scene just there. I don't understand why I didn't shoot Max on the way, but hey, it's such a great scene, really. But my favorite, absolute favorite, is the first date scene between Zoe Saldana and the comedian. What? So my absolute favorite is the first date scene between Zoe Saldana and Jeffrey Dean Morgan's characters. So great. It's such a big, beautiful metaphor because it's two peers, and it makes it important because it's a woman and a guy having it out, and they're equals pretty much throughout there. It's ultra feministic. It's just great that they're on the same playing field, and it shows that she's in control at least as much as he is, and that she's getting what she wants out of it too. It's not just him having his way with her. She's not just a sexy Barbie doll character to throw in there. While she is hot, she's her own person. She's a man as much as any of the rest of the team, and this is the scene that sets that tone for it. My hate for this one was that Max was kind of a boring villain. Like, yeah, he's a very bad man. He had that weird, slightly redemptive conversation about throwing the guy off the roof, but other than that, like, Max is a bad guy. Done. Let's write another character, guys. The only thing that could be interesting about him really is his perspective towards women, because he just shoots the one girl for the wind blowing over the umbrella. There's a scene where he has the harem of ladies, and then he tells the one girl to stay wet when she's about to get out. It shows that he's very controlling, very domineering, and particularly that he doesn't like women nearly as much, which helps the Max Zoe Saldana feud and show that they're enemies, and this is the bad guy and this is the good lady, regardless of whatever else is going on. My MVP for this, Zoe Saldana. Not only is she a girl playing in the boys club, as a character and in the movie, and really, because she's probably about honestly as big a name as any of these guys, but she probably gets a little bit less recognition because there's much more of a chance that she's that hot girl from that one thing than somebody remembering her name versus the other guys who people are probably going to remember their names first and then being that, except for maybe Chris Evans because he's kind of a poster boy for all the ladies out there. But she's a badass lady and a badass character, and the whole story's structured around her, and not only is that there, it's more than she's just there, she's actively involved. And I think the only comparable substitute would have been Michelle Rodriguez. Zoe Saldana sold it, and she really stepped up to the part in this. On to the categories. Aesthetics. This is a comic book movie, which means that they had a storyboard written for them. Beautiful artwork. It's not especially like my cup of tea when you look at that comic book artwork, but it's beautiful nonetheless, and it's got great aesthetics. The contrasting when they do big panel scenes. There's that scene especially like where Zoe Saldana is like on the roof and she fires the rocket, and there's the big explosion thing where they're doing that slow-mo walk. It's super dramatic looking, just to signify that it's a jumping off point for that current story arc. That's got to be a scene that was pulled from the comic. It was probably very dramatic in panel, and I didn't go back and read the comics yet, but honestly, after watching this again, I kind of want to. They do silly, ridiculous things, like Chris Evans has the weird t-shirts throughout the whole thing. Roke has his knives. Pooch has the little Chihuahua dog. Because of its source medium, there are several things that are just make the movie iconic, and it's beautiful how they stuck to it and how they translate that when they come over. The cinematography is great. I enjoy all of it. They really sold it. Again, like the aesthetics to that first date scene where it's all on fire is gorgeous. They took care, and even when they did Max's boring little harem scene with all the wet ladies, I mean, they took care to make it important and to pay attention to the details and how people are staged. There's something I like to call poster moments. This movie is rife with them because they're mimicking panels in the comics which you could blow up to be a poster, and I love it. Aesthetics gets a 90. Character development. As much as I love introducing characters with splash screens, there is a problem with doing that. It lets you stop thinking about the characters. It allows you to go, okay, this is this guy because they told me it was, instead of building up what the character is as an idea and a concept on your own. That comes later in the movie, but you get this bias because of it. With that said, everything that the character development lacks in this movie lends me to wanting to read the comic because it makes me feel like we get all the answers. Obviously, since the comic only had the one run, which is pretty much summed up in the movie, I'm not going to get that if I go read it, which is disappointing. There's all this backstory that I want on Zoe Saldana's character in particular, back with their days with the cartel and her father. I want to know. I want the next story. I want the sequel. The demand that is instilled in me for this movie is fantastic, but it's just under where I want to be. We get that Roke wanted that bad enough, but the way we're sold on the team as a whole, that they're a family, that they're brothers, that they are together until they die or whatever would happen, and then he breaks that character, and it's really disappointing that was part of the story. They needed it functionally to get the story where they were obviously trying to get it to go, but I didn't like it. I wish it was a little better in some way, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but you can't have everything. Character development gets an 80. Storyline. I'll be honest, this is a pretty badass storyline. It is written super well, and again, since it was written for a comic, even if it was kind of a revisit to the losers from way back, they did an excellent job, and the movie stuck fairly accurate to the comics from all I can tell. So they had a lot of the work done for them. It's just a matter of what they wanted to put in the movie and actually pay for. But it's structured beautifully. I love that they have that tension between them, between Zoe Saldana's character and Gene Jeffrey Morgan's, because he killed her father. Not that they knew what was going on. They were following orders. They were doing their job. They were killing bad guys in bad places, doing bad things. And there's kind of that hope left, especially towards the end, that maybe they'll get over it, or maybe they'll end up in a draw later on after they finally get Max. So few stories actually follow through on that. The romantic tension between them, you would think would subvert it, but I really don't think that. I think that it's really more sex than romance there, the way they've presented everything, and it's more that she has camaraderie built into it than romance. Because she's now one of the guys. She's hanging out. Just because she does this guy doesn't mean that she's not part of the team as a whole. The next story, unfortunately, is what would tell us that, and that is what leads it up. They lead up to so many good cliffhangers. The things with Max, how he gets away, how he deals with situations, how the characters go about everything all together. There are portions of the story that are blanked out, like Aisha's, Zoe Saldana's character Aisha, how she gets them to America actually, how that's funded, how she knows about the hard drive. All hidden elements that help the actual story, but they're things I would like to know. So it's excellently written, even without those parts, and maybe for those parts, and I'm just being a brat about it. Storyline gets a 90. Compulsion. I'd actually seen this before, but I got excited as soon as it was suggested that we're going to watch The Losers. And I wasn't going to turn this off while it was on. I almost watched this movie twice before this review just because I liked it that much. So exciting. The jokes, the action, the tactical situations, even the explosions keep you interested, keeps your eyes drawn to it. The aesthetics help with that a lot. Again, it's designed from the comics, so they take key to do those scenes that are designed to draw your eye in, because when they make comics, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get your attention. They're trying to keep you focused on the page, so you don't put it down, walk away, do something else, and then you don't pick up next week's book, and then they don't have any funding to keep making the comic. That is held into this. They kept you engaged the whole time. A lot of people I know could probably turn their brain off and watch this. I think you can get a lot more from actually looking at it a little bit deeper, and it's there. And like all things, there's options. You get the option to do what you want with it, and that's ultimately okay. I just beg you, if you were one of those people that turns your brain off for this, go back and watch it again and look just a little bit deeper. It's definitely there if you take the time. Compulsion gets an 88. Now if you total that up, you get an average of 87. For my review, I'm going to say that makes it a top tier movie for me. This is presented as a dumb guy action flick, but it's pretty an in-depth comic movie when you look at it, and you can see it as both very clearly. That option's there. This movie is beautifully casted, acted, written, and produced. It's so sad this didn't do better in the box offices. For whatever reason, like I saw someone say something about like because the A-Team was coming out later that month, people were apparently saving their money for that. I think they were missing out. I think this is a top-notch action flick. For me, I need something a little deeper than just action, so this definitely satisfies that. I recommend this for anyone who's just got that action itch. Like I said, this is a review for hashtag We Are Movie Club. This week's pick was Liam's. Next week's pick is Cortnie. She's going to have us do Brick. So be sure to check out her channel as well as Liam's and search the hashtag We Are Movie Club to find out everyone else who's doing these reviews. If you want to do a review yourself and include the hashtag We Are Movie Club, we'll probably find it eventually and check you out, and you'll be part of the club. Jump in with us. It's a good time. I think that's it for me. I'm Cameron. Have a nice day. If you want to see anything else we're up to, go ahead and click the annotations, and they'll take you to our other channels.